we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real relevant and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. I am super thrilled to be here with you during this season, and we are here today with Martha Glory. How are you, Martha?
Hello, Kim. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so grateful to have you here and honored to have you as my guest. And listen, everyone that's in the studio audience, we're equally honored to have you here with us today. Without you, obviously, the show could not even exist. So thank you so much for being in the virtual studio audience. Make sure you comment throughout today's conversation. Let us know where you're visiting in from and what you hope to learn from our topic today. Today, we're talking with Martha, and I know her formal last name, but we're calling her Martha Glory today. And we're talking about letting glory shine. How do we let glory shine in our lives? And so I'm excited about it, and I want people to kind of, in a nutshell, hear what they can expect to hear from you today without going too deep. But let us know what they can expect to hear from you today, Martha.
Well, the only way to let glory shine is to go through the darkness and to do the work of healing through that darkness in order to get to the light. And that's when you are able to let glory shine.
Woo! Y'all, you see, I had taken glasses off on that. If you have to let glory shine and you are subject to that theory, that philosophy, that means that you have experienced some level of darkness in your life. And so today, Martha is going to reveal what some of those dark moments were in her life that catapulted her to become who she is today. Let me just formally introduce you to this wonderful vessel. And I'm excited about the fact that, you know, you have already let your light shine and you've continued to be a beacon of hope and light and inspiration to people. And you're not afraid to share your story. So I think a lot of times people are nervous about sharing their transparency and their backstory. So we're going to hear from you about that. But Martha Glory, I'm just going to say Martha Glory, is a resilient and courageous, because that may be your stage name since we're dealing with all of this stuff that we're going to be talking about. That's why I'm leaving the other piece off. You're a resilient and courageous warrior who has transformed her life from being a cult survivor. And I'm talking about a real cult, y'all, not just making up some word that we're just throwing out here. Cult survivor, to becoming an influential voice and leader in the wellness industry. As the owner of Pick Wellness LLC, as well as Cult X, she is dedicated to helping others achieve their best overall holistic mental health, mind, body, and spirit. She's also known as an international Amazon best-selling author, a dynamic speaker, a life visionary, and a skilled healing workshop facilitator. She has a whole lot of things that's blended together to make her who she is today. But as a beacon of hope and inspiration, that's what brings her here to the Kim Jacobs Show today. So welcome to you again, Martha Glory.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. And anytime that God allows me to have a platform to share my story, I just feel privileged. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad. And I want to make sure we go ahead and jump right into this, because you have had your personal transformation and your background has really lent to who you are today. So if you could just take us back on your journey of what it was like being even in a cult. What was that process like and how did you survive it?
Yeah, so I'll give you the acorn version of my backstory. And that began while I was born and raised in a religious cult. And when you say a real cult, yes, a real cult. And during that first 26 years of my life, when I was being born and raised in it, everything was controlled by the leader. What we ate, when we showered, what we prayed, everything, our dietary restrictions, what we wore, what we didn't, what we cut our hair, everything was completely controlled by the cult leader. And so I grew up without an identity. I grew up without knowing who I was, because it wasn't necessary for me to know who I was or to have an identity, because he controlled everything. And so when I finally woke up and made the decision to leave the cult when I was almost 26 years old, by divine intervention and God kind of just saying it's time, and I did escape, then I entered this big, crazy world that I don't know anything about, and I don't know how to navigate. And I'm completely challenged by everything that's around me, because I've never had to make my own decisions before, because everything has been so controlled. And so that kind of led to this downward spiral of me trying to figure out who I was, to create an identity for myself, to understand who I was in the eyes of God, what God really meant to me, who God was. Because the God that I knew in the cult, I didn't want anything to do with. I was running as fast and far as I could from that God, because I was like, I had experienced so much deep, deep trauma within those first 26 years, sexually, physically, spiritually, verbally. And so I didn't want anything to do with God, and I was running. And so I had to re-navigate and tap into and unwire all of those things that I had learned that first 26 years, and redefine who I was. And it really start with, who does God say I am, and what do I feel like God is to me now? And that was a whole uncovering that had to happen in order to get me started on my healing journey.
Okay, it's so much to unpack in everything that you just shared, Martha, that it's like, what direction do you even go in? Because for someone to be in that situation, and I'm only putting an imagination to it, because I have no clue really what it was like. So people only sometimes even sound ignorant when you're trying to put together a piece of a puzzle that you've never experienced. And I've learned that from the death of my son. No matter how you slice it, some people just genuinely cannot understand what it is that I'm dealing with. So with you being in this situation, were your parents, they were a part of this cult too? And did they agree to everything that was happening because that's all they knew too? Is that how it worked?
So my parents had joined about 5 years before I was born. And so, yes, 7 of us kids were born within the cult. When my parents are very smart people, and I always have to preface this, because people are like, how do smart people join a cult? And, but, my parents were hippies. They were looking for something to belong to. They were looking for a higher power. They were searching. And that those years of the early 70s, that was a big movement of that time, of people looking for enlightenment, looking for something to belong to that was bigger than themselves. Right. And my parents fell into this. And what you have to understand about a cult is, a cult doesn't start out as manipulative. It doesn't start out as dangerous. It doesn't start out as abusive, right? It turns into that as the people, as the members allow him that space, right? So as time progressed, and as us kids started growing up in it, that's the small changes happened over time. And yes, you just get used to that's what it is. You don't think, oh, this doesn't fit in with who I am any longer. Like they didn't question those things. It just was. They bought into it, and they felt like they were a chosen people. This group felt, he made us feel like we were a chosen people, and our lives should look different from the outside because we were chosen. We couldn't look like everybody else. We shouldn't act like everybody else. We shouldn't eat what everybody else does because we're different. So when you have these programmings, right, it is a programming that happens. Like my parents, there wasn't a time when my parents goes, oh, does this fit into what we thought we bought into? Mm-hmm. They were too far in. They were too far in.
Okay. Wow. You're painting a great picture for me to have a visual image of what's happening in that type of world, because really it's interesting how you're saying that, because those are similar things to how we would say as even Christians, I believe in Jesus Christ. And so I'm telling people about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so it's interesting how you're saying that you're a chosen people, you are to be set apart and to be different. Then I'm hearing, well, I also believe that you should be set apart and that you should be different, and that we are chosen people as well. But just, I guess, in very different philosophies. Like, I don't want anybody to worship me or to be subject under, I mean, I'm the under shepherd of what God has created me to be as far as leading God's people, but that's as my faith follows him versus everybody just bowing down to me. Is that,
And that's the biggest difference of a
okay.
cult, right? So he made himself to be our God. He made himself to be put on a proverbial pedestal to be worshiped in the way that you would worship God. He was our intercessor. He was our direct contact to God. We didn't have a personal relationship with God. We weren't taught what that means. We weren't taught about the love, the grace, the mercy. He was that for us.
Okay, and we're not saying his name. That's why you'll hear her say he, him, because we're very careful to just keep it more in, because there are people that are still in this.
Yes.
And that, I don't know, are your parents still in this too?
No, all of my family's out except for one sister.
Okay. How do you get, now these are not I don't have scripted questions or anything. So I'm just having a conversation with you, and we'll get to some of the peak wellness and everything, cult X. But how in the world do you escape from a situation like that without everyone else that's being left behind being harmed as a result of your decision to leave?
So that has been the epitome of what I've struggled with for the last 20 years, because I knew that God was calling me to share my story, but I was so scared to go public because what would happen to my sister? What would happen to the other people there? And finally, over the years, and as I continued on my healing journey, God kept coming through me and saying, it's time for you to stop being scared. It's time for you to stop living in fear, because the things that you went through are going to pave the way for somebody else's healing. And so you have to step out of the shadows. You cannot live in fear of what if, and you have to just live the truth that I've put in your heart. And so as I started to do that, and as I started to go public, and as I started to write my book, and as I started to share on stages, I realized that no, I went through all of the things that I did, but it was also a choice when I made the choice to leave. My sister could have that same choice should she ever come to that place to make that decision, and she would be completely supported. Just like if anybody else from my cult would reach out to me, I would be there in a heartbeat, or any other cult for that matter, because I know what it's like to have every facet of your life controlled. I know what it's like to be completely isolated. I know what it's like to be completely alone. I know what it's like to be completely abandoned from anything on the outside. I know all of those feelings. I know all how that feels. And so, but it is a choice that we make. And my choice to leave and escape happened at a very divine time. And, God's deliverance, brought me out of it safely. But it was a choice that I had to make. I had to find the inner courage, and I had to find the understanding that there had to be life on the outside, regardless of what I was going to face once I got there.
So going into the unknown, having no clue that right here you're safe as far as having a place to live, knowing that you're with your family, your siblings, that's somewhat comforting to know, I would think, right? Now going into at 26 years old, is that what you were?
Yeah.
Stepping out into the abyss, the fear of the unknown. I would like to hear what that transition was like when you made that decision. Tell us how that worked. And anybody in the studio audience, I see you, Shayna. Let me put my glasses here. I see you, Dr. Shayna Gourdine. Please make sure you all have any questions. Hey, check your email. Somebody saying check my email. I see your comment. Okay, I'll check my email. That's funny. People get on these platforms and like, hey, I sent you something. Okay, I got you. All right. Make sure that you put your comments and your questions versus just the questions that I may have as well. And also, if you are definitely in the holiday spirit of giving, I'm gonna pop this on here throughout the entire time. I'll pop it up one time to let you know that the Kim Jacobs Show, we're looking for 10 of our partners that would donate $100 to our Kim Jacobs Show, so we can continue in 2025 being able to provide some quality programming at this level. We are now streaming even on Roku and some of the streaming devices on television. We need your support and cannot really thrive without having contributions from community members. So please take a moment today. You're thinking about it, go do it. Just click, go over, give a donation and come right back. And if I can see it, I'll send a quick shout out to you as well, letting people know that you did donate to the Kim Jacobs Show. And that's Cash App $ Kim Jacobs Inc., PayPal.me/Kim Jacobs Inc., or even Venmo at the Kim Jacobs Show. If you Zelle it to 704-962-7161. And I'll put this at the screen throughout the broadcast in case you don't catch it now, but we'll catch it later. Listen, how did you officially survive in your escape? And I don't know if you can reveal much of what your escape plan looked like, but tell us a little bit about that, what it looked like, if you're allowed.
Yeah.
And tell us also, tell us that first. Go.
So I was living in the compound with the cult leader, and my family was not living there with me. I had been taken at 18 by him away from my family. And so I was living with him in the compound. And every move was monitored that I made. Like, I wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom without, everything was monitored. And so I was working in one of the cult-owned businesses. And as God would have it, I met this older gentleman. I call him Papa, and he became my lifeline to the outside. And Papa just became, over the 4 years that I knew him, and as I was working at this cult-owned business, we built a friendship. And he was the closest thing to a grandfather figure that I had ever had, because I wasn't allowed relationships with my extended family because they weren't part of the cult. And so me and Papa we built this beautiful, beautiful friendship and relationship of like this grandfather figure. So as the reason why I finally made the decision to leave is I had found one of my sisters on the internet, and I had been communicating with her, and I found out that she was pregnant. And when I found out she was pregnant with her first child, I had this hankering and this desire and this inner self saying, like, you have to go home and be with this child and be with my sister, because we grew up with no extended family. I didn't want the next generation to start growing up without their aunts and uncles. And I was just, that moment for me was, I have to go home to be with my sister, and I have to be there for this child. I want to be there for this child. And so I would confide in Papa, and I told him I had to come clean about everything. I had lied to him for years about the cult. I had lied to him about so many different things. And I finally had to come clean, and I had to say, I am in the cult. There's whisperings in the town because it's a very small town, but I came clean with him, and I really sat with him and just poured out my heart. And he just sat there with his mouth agape and just looked at me, and he was like, Martha, this is not the plan that God has for your life. This cannot be the plan that God has for your life. And so he's like, I will pray on it, but I will do anything that I can to help you to get out of here and get safely back to your sister. And so the planning started with that. And he started praying, and I started praying. And
thank God for a ram in the bush, by the way.
Oh, the whole deliverance story is much bigger than I'm making it, but it was literally the ram in the bush. And he appeared out of nowhere and bought me a car, gave me money, gave me a credit card, because I had nothing. I had nothing but the clothes on my back. I didn't get paid for working all these hours at the shop. I had nothing except for the clothes on my back. And he allowed me to start my whole life over by buying me a used car, giving me some cash and a credit card to start this new life. And there was a divine snowstorm that happened on the night that I had made the escape, and I was able to get out safely. Again, this is the shortened version. If you want to hear my whole escape story, you can read my book. But that's how I made the last exit.
Wow, that gives me chills. So Papa appears in this business. I like summarizing some things here. Okay, Papa, first of all, you are officially moved to the house, to the
compound
master's house, in my opinion, kind of thing. Is like you're moved to the master's house. In this case, it's a guy who's owning you all. He's owning you all, technically, right? So you've been separated from your family. You're there. And this might you making my show become something like a reality show. What in the world? This right here, my normal show is Betty Crocker kind of stuff, but you done turned it up a notch today. Anybody agree with me in the comment section that this takes things to a whole different level on the Kim Jacobs Show? Put it in the comment section. Listen, You get over there. He's having you there because you're 18. He separated you from your family, is what I'm understanding. Your family is left where? On the compound?
No, my family is in North Carolina.
Oh, so they left there in North Carolina.
The compound's in Wisconsin.
Huh?
The compound is in Wisconsin.
Okay, so now you give a little more details. I was going to keep it vague, but so the compound is in Wisconsin. The family's in North Carolina. You're at the owner's home because he's now convinced your family it's time for her to come be with me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, girl, this is I gotta take a commercial break, y'all. I'm gonna take a commercial break because divine intervention happened when this man, Papa, stepped in and changed your life forever. I'm going to ask you this question, get your mind right and talk about it. How did that catapult you to be able to get to where you are with PIC Wellness? And what was that pivotal moment in time doing to transform everything that's happening in your life? When we come back, y'all, from this commercial break, ask your own questions. But when we come back, we're going to talk more with Martha Glory about glory. Let glory shine. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Kim Jacobs, the Managing Director of the Charlotte, North Carolina chapter of eWomen Network. I am so excited that you stopped to watch this video. I've got good news for you. You've just discovered an international network of women entrepreneurs who are committed to helping you achieve, succeed, and prosper. We're on a mission here to help 1 million women entrepreneurs each achieve $1 million in annual revenue. Here at eWomen Network, we have a complete success system that supports you every step of the way in building and growing your business. You being here right now is no accident. We're supposed to know about you. We want to meet you to find out how we can help you as well as learn about what you have to offer. With over 500,000 women connected through 118 chapters across the United States, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom, you are never alone. If this is resonating with you, please go to eWomenNetwork.com/Charlotte. Notice too my contact information. I invite you to reach out to me and to check out our upcoming in-person and online events. I'm really looking forward to introducing you to our special community.
Wow. Okay, y'all. If y'all have not joined eWomen Network, I want you to make sure that you go to eWomenNetwork.com/join. And if you put Kim Jacobs as the person that invited you to be a part of eWomen Network, I encourage you to be a part no matter where you are in the country, because you'll be a part of 118 chapters. And so you don't want to miss this opportunity to be connected with Sandra Yancey, who is a CNN hero, has consulted with some of the largest business entrepreneur organizations in the world. She's been a consultant with Dell, IBM, different places. So you want to be a part of eWomen Network if you're women and a business entrepreneur. All right, Martha, you escaped thanks to Papa, and I bet you in the book is something crazy that really Papa was something. I'm gonna leave it at that, because I know my experience when I came to Christ. And that person, when I went back to research them, Martha, they were at, it's not my story. I'm just gonna tell you, the person never existed at that company. So I went back to thank the person. They never existed. So that was a godsend for just me in my moment. And anyway, let's talk about your story, Martha. Papa, he gets you everything you need, almost like he's Harriet Tubman or something. He's getting you out of, he's like, you gonna leave or you's gonna die. You gonna get out of here, and he gets you out of there.
Yeah.
Tell us, talk to us.
Yeah. I'd never been loved or supported in that way. And it was a complete divine relationship. And I did get at least about 8 years after I got out to continue to be loved by him. And he did get to meet my family eventually and came to my wedding. But he was definitely an angel on earth. And I'm so grateful that I get to tell this story and get to share all that he did for me. And I'm just, he was definitely an angel on earth.
Yes. And so as you have experienced this angelic move of God on your behalf to come to the point where you start doing some business ownership of your own, did you ever connect with your sister and when the baby was born and everything?
Oh yeah. I went through the whole pregnancy with her, and my niece is now 19 years old. I tell her she's my reason, and she says that I'm the reason why she came here is because I needed to get out of the cult. So she's my reason.
And then so you were an inspiration for some of your other family members to get out, all but one sister. And that one sister, you obviously love her with all your heart as well, and ask God to just open up some things for her to be able to transition out safely and smoothly. And so, because there are a lot of people that are in these cults that are not able to get out without losing their lives.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we don't talk about. Like, we don't talk about that there are 3,000 cults in the United States alone. And so many of them, the majority of them are underground. The majority of them are hush hush. The majority of them are people are held in fear. And there's this idea that nobody will understand what we've been through because the programming is so insanely ingrained in who you are. And you don't know that you have an identity outside of that. And so that was the biggest thing that I had to figure out on the outside is who I was, because I really did it. I was an adult, but I was literally a scared little girl, and I didn't know how to navigate this big, crazy new world that I was being introduced to. And so now I've been out 20 years next week. Next Friday, I'll be out 20 years, and it's by the grace of God. But the grace of God. And this is a huge, huge time in my life. I've been on this healing journey for about the last consistent 13 years. And I've gotten to do a whole lot of things, but I feel like this is a time in my life where God's calling me to be Papa. God is calling me to be Papa for other people. And so that's kind of why I've gone public and why I've published my book and why I'm sharing my story, is because there's a lot of people stuck in the same darkness that I was. And now I get to be Papa. So.
Yes. Okay. So in being Papa for everyone, as you let glory shine through you, I want to put your book up and tell people, what do you hope for people to walk away learning from this book, Glory, Going All In, Cult Survivor to Courageous Warrior? And then there's your formal name there. So, okay. So tell everybody what you'd like for readers to walk away on.
Is just knowing that no matter what you've been through, that is not a death sentence. That is not the end of the line for you. There is healing to be had, but you have to choose you. You have to choose life. You have to choose to live, and you have to choose forgiveness. You have to choose to really invest in yourself in order to heal. That is a choice. And so often we get so stuck in our pain. We get so stuck in how to navigate, right? And it paralyzes us. And so my book is really, it's broken into 3 sections. It's my cult story, it's my healing story, and then it's my coaching program that I offer for people that have gone through trauma. It doesn't have to be cult trauma. It's just trauma in general, because trauma doesn't know whether you've been in a cult or whether you've been abused by a family member or whether you've been, trauma doesn't know the difference. Our nervous system doesn't know the difference, whether you're chased by a lion or you were in a cult and you were abused like I was. So I talk in very bigger picture terms of like just trauma and how do we start our healing journey from trauma or after trauma.
Excellent. And then where can people get this book, Glory Going All In?
It's on Amazon.
Okay, so you can go right to Amazon, everyone, and you can get Glory Going All In, Cult Survivor to Courageous Warrior by Martha, and it's Kartaoui. Kartaoui. Okay, Martha Kartaoui. So make sure you get that book, and I'm sure it's going to change your life. It definitely has changed hers. I think you look quite free right there. You don't look like no more chains are holding you for any reason.
So true. So true. And that is something that people don't understand is there is freedom after such severe trauma. When I got out of the cult and I was so broken, I had to put myself back together. All, grace of God, right? Like, and when you start to put the pieces back together and when you start to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and actually like what you're looking at and getting to know the person that's looking back at you, that is powerful. And I feel like so many of us go through our whole lives just existing rather than living. And I really want to just help you see you the way that God sees you, the way that I see you, the way that healing could see you, right? And those are all things that I get to talk about and do now.
That's so good. I have a friend that gave me this, and I keep it on my desk, and it actually says, God, help me to see myself the way you see me, so I can imagine and live in the blessings you have in store for me. And so thank you, Ruth Kent, because I do literally keep this right on my desk. And I think how important it is for us to be seen by how God sees us. And this one here says, never let nothing condemn the light that shines from within. I have a lot of these sayings around dreams don't work unless you do, and make today amazing, and so forth. But you want to surround yourself with some level of positivity so that you can keep your spirits uplifted. And you did just that. You started Pick Wellness, which stands for, and I have it here, but I'll let you talk about it.
Passionate, intentional collaboration. So it all started out because I'm a therapeutic massage therapist by training, but I was also in corporate America doing physical therapy. And that was where I kind of understood that everything is interconnected. Everything is connected, and mind, body, and spirit, right? So when my physical body started breaking down, I understood that was a reflection of actually my trauma. Had been running from my trauma for so long. And so I had to intentionally unwire and heal those traumatic places that had held me captive for so many years, set myself free in order for my physical body to actually heal. It is all connected. You can't just put your trauma away in a box and lock it and walk away and continue your life. It will chase you like a shadow. It will chase you until you address it. And for me, what finally got my attention was when my physical body literally started breaking down in my early 30s. Like I had migraines, I had back pain, neck pain, fibromyalgia, migraines, food sensitivities, gastrointestinal, you name it, I had it, because my body was literally screaming at the top of its lungs that it needed me to address this thing that I'd been carrying around since a very young child when my abuse started. So I had to address it.
And in addressing the trauma that was built up on the inside of your body, well, how do you recommend other people, whether it's like through domestic violence, like you say, or grief, or something that is causing maybe a job loss, or maybe some type of friendship detachment, or whatever it is that's causing trauma? Because a lot of scenarios can leave you feeling traumatized through betrayal and all kinds of things. What advice or tips would you share with people to be able to get to the other side of that trauma?
So healing looks very different for everybody, but you have to address it. You have to face it. And for me, in order to address it and face it and release it, you have to forgive it. You have to, and you don't forgive it because they deserve forgiveness. You forgive it so that you can move on, so that you can release it, so you can step into a fuller essence of who you are. Because carrying that big garbage bag full of trauma and hurts and pains, you will never get where you want to go, because you're just dragging this dead weight. So for me, I had to relearn how to trust. I had to forgive. I had to find modalities that help me tap into that inner broken child place in order to help me heal through those things. And for everybody, it looks different. Some people talk therapy works. Some people, that didn't work for me. I had to go to more naturopathic healings or healers in order to find the things that I needed, like EMDR, hypnosis, cranial sacral therapy. Like I had to do these things that allowed me to quiet my consciousness in order to get in here where all of that trauma was stored so that I could heal it and move through it. So everybody's looks differently, but I've created a tool bag for myself now that works for me to move through the things that I have been through. And everybody, you'll figure out as you start your journey, what works for you.
That's really good. So, but what worked for you is a holistic approach.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's what you would recommend to people today?
Well, what I learned is that there's not a pill in Western medicine to fix trauma. There's not a pill out there that says you're healed. You have to find ways to address it. You have to find ways to make peace with it. You have to find ways to release it. And so in Western medicine, I didn't find that because everybody looked at me from their scope of practice. So when I went to a neurologist, they looked at me from their scope of practice. When I went to the gastroenterologist, they looked at me from their scope of practice, right? So nobody was putting the pieces together saying, no, this is just a broken little girl that has been through so much trauma that she can't see straight. Like that's what we're seeing here. Nobody saw that. Everybody just saw labels, migraines, fibromyalgia, right? Like people saw labels. They didn't see me. They didn't see this.
Everything you're saying is so true because people do focus and practice in their area of expertise, their specialty. And so I really love how I'm hearing you talk about this holistic wellness approach. And so your program that you offer, because you do say that you offer some specific programs to individuals, what it would focus obviously on the mind, the body, spirit in your programs through this holistic wellness approach. But can you share any specific techniques or tools that you found to be most effective in that process for you?
So it's getting back up to the essence of who we are. And the way that we do that is, through meditation, through connection, through community, through you have to get out of your bubble of I'm all alone and nobody's going to understand me. You have to be able to step outside of that. And you have to be able to allow community in. You have to be able to open your mouth and start sharing the things that have devastated you or have traumatized you in order to step into the fullest essence of yourself. Because if you stay in the shadows, that's where you will remain always. And you cannot let the light in if you're holding up this veil. You cannot let the light in. You cannot let the healing in until you make the courageous step to step forward. And so, yes, I use all kinds of tools to help clients to get there. But the biggest choice is choosing you, saying, I don't want to live in this space anymore. I don't want to live with all this hurt and pain anymore. I believe that I'm worthy of healing. I'm worthy of stepping out of my comfort zone and into something that is the unknown, but that I know that there's got to be something better. It's a choice.
I feel like I'm at a seminar or workshop. I'm like, yes, this is a standing ovation. Martha Glory, I'm serious. This is incredible information that you're sharing, especially when people are traumatized, even more so during certain seasons. Holidays is on. People that are in traumatic experiences or experiencing being suppressed and depressed and repressed or whatever the word is, feeling it, it's too many things that's happening during certain seasons. What advice would you give people that they don't see that they're stuck in that situation, so they don't really even look for ways to get out?
Right.
How do you help a person in that situation?
And I love that you bring that up. And I know that with the loss of your son, you probably feel some of these things too. Like you'll be going through your day and something will hit you and you're triggered and you're taken back to that same pain that you felt with the loss of your son, or I'm triggered and I'm taken back to sexual abuse that I experienced or physical abuse that I experienced. And no matter how far on our healing journey or how much time has lapsed, we are still very quickly taken back to those places when we're triggered. Holidays are a time where we are easily triggered. We're already overstressed. We're not sleeping like we normally would or should. We're not eating the best, right? We're indulging, all of those things. And when we go back to everything's connected, mind, body, and spirit, when we are deficient in an area, guess what? We're vulnerable. And so when we're vulnerable, that trigger is a lot easier to happen to. The ability for that trigger to happen to us is a lot more present. So what I've had to teach myself is when I feel that panicky feeling, that clam coming over me, that sweaty, I'm taken back to a place that I don't want to go. I have to be patient with myself. I have to be kind with myself, and I have to sit with myself and just be safe. I have to create my own safety, my own security, and my own self-love to say, I can get through this. I've been through it before. I can get through it this time. And you have to be your own biggest advocate. You have to be your own biggest cheerleader. You have to be your own biggest healer, because you have to just sit with you and God and say, I got this. And this is just a moment, and I will get through it. I've got through it before.
I'm so glad you said that, because I do that often. Sometimes my mom, or if she's here, or anybody, my kids, they'll be like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to myself. And the reason I'm talking to myself and God is because I'm my own worst enemy in some regards. So if I don't get myself out of this situation or myself out of this phone, then how am I going to help anybody else? So I'll have a whole conversation out loud with God. My mom said, you want to be careful doing that too much, because this is really, really weird. I was like, no, it's not. To me, it's actually weird for people not to talk to themselves. If you can't encourage yourself, then how can you encourage somebody else?
That's right. Just like if you can't love yourself, how can you truly love somebody else?
Right.
If you can't support yourself, how can you truly support somebody else? And I talk about this a lot, about self-love and understanding, like, if once you grasp that God loves you and that God is for you and that you are perfectly and wonderfully made in the image of God, and you really grasp that and embrace the enormity of what that really truly is, your capacity to love others, to support others, is the ripple effect of understanding where it first came from, where it first began. And I remember the moment that I was able to see myself as God saw me. I was able to take away all the labels. I was able to take off all the identities that didn't serve me, that other people had put on me. And I was able to just transparently look at, no, I am a child of the one true King. What? Like,
you can't get any better than that, for real. So when that moment happened for you, it was clearly, like how Oprah would say, a aha moment, right? What was that like? Did you feel like a kid in a candy store? Did you feel like, hey, what did you feel like?
Well, I have to be honest, it was a lot of tears, but they were tears of joy. There were tears of this amazement. It was tears of this understanding. It was all the goosebumps. It was all of that. I was held in this precious moment of that. I got to see myself the way that he saw me when he created me. And he knew all of this stuff was going to happen to me. He knew that, but he knew I would make it through it. He knew that he would walk alongside of me and he would bring me through it, because I would share it and I would be someone to lead others out of it, right? He knew I was going to do the work. And that was like, it sat so heavy and so amazingly in that moment of just seeing all of this and knowing that that was just the beginning, because that was some 7 years ago now. It took me many years to gain the courage to actually start speaking, to actually start writing, to actually start being what you see now. It took many years to get there, but it's a process. And that was the other thing, is understanding this is a process. Like, I don't get to snap my fingers and undo the first 26 years of my life. And just because you're committed to a healing journey does not mean that life is not going to life. You're still going to face things after the big stuff, right? I still went through marriage. I went through divorce. I went through miscarriage. I went through financial devastation. I went through so many different hardships on the outside that I've had to navigate. But what it does mean when you're on this healing journey is you now have the tools. You now have the patience. You now have the kindness with yourself to hold space for yourself and say, you know what? I've been through hard stuff before, and I'm going to get through this hard stuff now. And so it doesn't derail me any longer, because I know where I'm going. I know who I'm created to be. I know my passion, my purpose, and who God says I am. And nothing can take me off that track any longer.
That is just so inspiring how you're packaging that, because once you know that you know that you know that you know, it doesn't even matter what anybody does or attempts to do or thinks that they're doing. It's like, girl, boy, bye. It's okay. God's got me. And I understand that. And because I understand that, it really changes my outlook on life, even in how I handle other people. If I see that it's not serving God in any capacity for us to be connected in that regard, it's like, arrivederci. I don't have time for this. And I don't have to explain everything to everybody. I don't even need to explain a thing. I can keep it moving and go about my business. But then sometimes I'll have situations where people are like, why do you still deal with that person? The way they did you, da, 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 da. Girl, you know what? If God can have love for people, I can have love for people too. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that we have to be the besties or anything anymore, but I can still show the love of God in all situations, regardless. So it's a lot of little nuances as you're navigating this thing called life. I want to have your permission. Am I able to pull some of these pictures up from your Facebook page? Because this show is so many, though. I didn't want to download them and upload them. So can I share that page?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know. So I just fell in love with this because it shows that you're truly enjoying your life. You're enjoying your life.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing it is. You have your business, but then you also have pictures that people have tagged you in. They're like, people are really enjoying this space with you in your freedom. Look at this. What a beautiful thing. And I can see a lot of family and lots of children and lots of togetherness and people tagging people. What a blessing this is to have these moments to share in life.
I am
even more now for you because you're free. That's why I'm saying that.
Well, I've stopped many times in my tracks and just said, wow, this is my life. And especially as my 20-year anniversary comes up, it has been so present on my heart of like, this is the life I get to live. I get to live this life. And 20 years ago, when I was living in the compound where I didn't know if it was day or night, and I didn't know what I was doing the next day, it's such a beautiful expression of God's love for me and his purpose in my life, to see now what I get to do with this life that he gave me. And so I've been very, very present with gratitude and just understanding like, wow, this is my life. And I get to live this life. I get to have 12 nieces and nephews that I'm their favorite auntie, right? Like
you're my favorite something. I don't even know you're my aunt or anything. You're my favorite sister over here from a different mother, right?
I get to be this light that God's called me to be for people, for my clients, for people that I've never met, for people on social media that reach out to me because they heard me speak and they say, you told my story. I feel what you said because I was in a cult or I was in a traumatic situation. And so just to see how God is using me to navigate this light that he has given to me and he's put in me is just, it feels like such a blessing and there's not words. I get to live this life and I'm so grateful.
And because of you letting your light shine, so many people's lives will be better as a result of experiencing you. How can people take your coaching program? Please talk to us about that.
So the best way is to go to cult-x.org and you will have
X?
cult-x.org. There's a dash x.org. Or you can find me on social media. I can send you more information, but that's the best way to do it, is to go to Cult-X. There's different levels that you'll be able to, and that is all, it is completely changing as of December 27th. And the new programs will be launching that day. So, and that's also my 20-year anniversary. So that's really exciting as well.
And it's cult.x.
No, cult-x.org.
Okay. Am I right on the screen here? Okay. Yes. Cult-x.org. Especially for you all that are over on the audio podcast listening platforms, iHeartRadio and Spotify and all of that. You don't see what we're saying here. So it's cult, CULT -X.org. Cult-X.org. that. This is a great problem to have, by the way, to be on so many different platforms that you have to say it for the audio. Then you can see it if you're on the social media platforms. And if you're over on the television live streaming platforms, you can also see it. Thanks to CTR Media Network. You can download that app at CTR Media Network on Roku and those streaming devices, and you'll see the Kim Jacobs Show is now there as well. But it's cult-x.org, and this is Martha Glory, Let Glory Shine. You can also get her book on Amazon, which is called Glory, Going All In, Cult Survivor to Courageous Warrior, and you want to get that book from her, okay? All right, wow. I do want to also invite you all. I'm a new pastor here in town, so I'm also letting my light shine as well here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I encourage you to come and experience the promises of God at the Brownstone Signature Events, is where we're currently having our services at 10 a.m. This Sunday, we're having a holiday giveaway of gently used clothes and toys. So make sure if you are in the Charlotte and surrounding areas that you come to Promise Fellowship. That's 12080 University City Boulevard in Harrisburg, North Carolina, 28075. If you'd like to learn more, you can always inbox me or message me as well, and I'll be happy to get you that information. All right, Martha, I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. Is there anything that you wanted to say on today's broadcast that you would just want to close out with?
I want to just let anybody know that has experienced any kinds of the things that I've talked about today, understanding that you're not alone. I see you. Kim sees you. You're not alone. Being alone is actually a choice. Being stuck is actually a choice. So if you're interested in community, if you're interested in stepping out of this place that you may be in that feels very lonely, very isolating, and very controlled, please reach out to someone. If it's not me, if it's not Kim, but reach out to someone. You don't have to be alone, and you don't have to go through this journey alone. God didn't create us to be alone. God created us for community. God created us to be able to be helpers for one another. And that's really my heart, is just, to see those people that feel the way that I used to feel, and just letting you know that I'm here. Reach out to me on social media. I respond to my messages. Reach out to me. I'm here if you would ever like to use me as a resource or a tool, or would like to join the community. I'm here.
That's good. Good. She's here for you, and her light is definitely shining bright. And I believe that you are letting glory shine through you and helping others on your journey called life. And I believe it's going to have a long-term worldwide effect on people. So ultimately, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be known for at the end of it all?
So I've actually thought about that a lot as of late. I'm 45 years old, and a few years ago, God put this on my heart that I just want to leave every situation and everybody that I meet better than I found them. And so that is like my passion. That's my purpose. And that will be my legacy, is that I want to leave my family better than I found it. I want to leave my friends, my community, and my legacy better than I found it.
So, of course, her stone will say something like Martha Glory dash, the date that she started on this earth, dash the date that she left the earth. But that dash in between is that I made this world and you a better place. So I'm so happy that, Martha, you came on the Kim Jacobs Show today. You have truly blessed our audience. And for those of you in the comments section over here, if you had any closing comments or anything that you wanted me to pop up on the screen to say anything to Martha, if there were any takeaways, anything that you wanted to leave us with today. I see all of you. I'm trying to make sure I acknowledge you. If you don't put a lot of comments, I don't get a chance to always see it, because I don't get a chance to look down the whole time. But let me just acknowledge some of you all that are out here, and thank you for being here. Let's see. Lord have mercy. So many people here. Okay, Robert, James, I see all of you all. I see, and I see each of you. But if you don't put a comment, it's hard for me to acknowledge all of you. I saw you, my Aunt Irma. I see you all, and thank you all. I see all of you that are put in the comments. thank you for being here today and for tuning in. I see you, AR. I see you, Dr. Shana. I see all of you all that are out here in the studio audience. So thank you all for being here today and for making the Kim Jacobs Show an amazing experience where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. And I believe that better balance is happening just because of people like Martha Glory being here on the show today. If you have not taken a moment to pour into our broadcast, then make sure you do that. I'll put that up on the screen one more time. And I'm not even logged into the thing. So you'll have to just donate and know that we will do a shout out to you. But make sure you see the different methods. For those that are audio listeners, it's $ Kim Jacobs Inc. if you'd like to donate to the Kim Jacobs Show through Cash App, okay? And we are starting a next training coming up literally in a week, because we have a whole philosophy that we don't want to wait until a new year to start putting some things into effect that you could be launching and really formally starting in the new year. So if you have an idea that you would like to be a podcast host, talk show host, virtual show host, then I would love for me to be able to train you on how to do that. It's a 6-week training and I take 5 students. I already have 3. So if you want to be one of the 2 that will start on this journey with us, all you have to do is go to email kim@thebalancedoctor.tv, or you can call 704-962-7161. All right, Martha, anything else did the person ever come back and apologize? Did they come out? Did they seek after you to find you? Did they search for you, or they just let you go? Once you got out, you were out.
He's still well, they came after me for 3 months, and that's a whole nother story. But yeah, he's still running the cult, and my sister's still there. So,
and no formal apology or anything. So that is a perfect example that sometimes you just must move on and not wait for something that may never happen.
Yep.
So an apology may never happen, but you're free regardless. So did you ultimately forgive him?
What's that?
Did you ultimately forgive him?
Absolutely. Yes.
And why?
Because those are his demons, not mine. They weren't a reflection of who I was. That was a reflection of something that he is or is struggling with, and it's not a reflection of who I am.
I knew that was going to be the answer. You know how you know that you got to get this question in there, because what if that's the answer? So you are free regardless, and you've forgiven and you've moved on, and you're free to do that even whether the person asked for forgiveness or not. And that was for you, not for him.
That was for me. That was for me.
I love everything about you. Y'all go get this book from Amazon today. Don't let the day go by without getting Glory Going All In, Cult Survivor to Courageous Warrior. And you don't want to miss getting this book, okay? And as you can see in this image, for those of you that are audio listeners, you can't see, but she is absolutely free, and free indeed. Who the Lord has set free is free indeed. And Glory here, Miss Martha, is free indeed. All right. Thank you, Martha, for being here.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for this platform.
Yeah, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to this world, one household at a time. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow. We actually have a graduation happening of one of our students that went through the 6-week training program of starting her own show from scratch. So you'll get to hear from her, and it'll be an awesome episode. All right. With that note, stay backstage, if you will, for a second. And I am going to let you all go. Love you all. See you again Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on The Kim Jacobs Show. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show, and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you, and make it a great day.